Gordana Biernat joins me now from Sweden. And thank you so much for being here. I'm sure it's pretty late at night for you.
Well, not at night. I'm a night owl, so it's not late yet, but it's around 9 o'clock. So it's evening and it's dark outside, pitch dark.
Right, right. Well, it's great to see you and great to have you here with me. It was interesting. Twitter is, I have to tell you, my least favorite platform because I feel like there's so much vitriol on Twitter and there's a lot of political sniping back and forth. I use it as a journalist because it's a great tool for journalism, but I saw your tweets. I started seeing them and I started retweeting them, and they always made me stop and think. And I know that is part of your purpose. So tell me why you picked Twitter as your platform to spread your messages.
I think actually it was my husband who did that because it was a time when my mother was really ill and I haven't been expressing myself fully the way I should have expressed myself in my life always. So she was ill and she was at the hospital. And I was sitting in the garden with my husband and I was talking to him. And I had an aha moment where I felt that my mother is dying and she has never expressed herself fully. She was 65 at the time. She's alive still. And she got through that. But anyway, so she has never expressed herself. And I was sitting there with so much knowledge within me and not allowing myself to express that. Because I felt that I'm a woman born into a world where the masculine principle is prevailing, it is dominant, and it it puts you in a position where you cannot express yourself fully and the way we usually do as women. So I had to fit in all the time. And I almost was 50 before I started expressing myself fully. So we were sitting there and my husband said, well, you know something, you should be saying all these thoughts out there, putting them out there on social media. And I was kind of, oh, I don't like Facebook and Instagram is nothing for me. And he said, well, why don't you take Twitter? And I was going, what's that? I didn't even know what it was. And then I tweeted out one tweet. It was about happiness or something in English. And a man in India responded to it. And that's when I had the aha moment. I was thinking, oh my God, I can reach anyone with my thoughts. And it was so beautiful because I have this ability to boil down things into very short sentences. That's what I've been doing all my life. I love doing that. So Twitter kind of, it just suited me so well. I started writing in English more and more, which opened up more and more within me. And I started posting unfiltered thoughts out there. Mm-hmm. I did not tweet them. I didn't do anything with them. I just allowed them to go through my heart. And I had just one thing. They had to go through a love filter. I would ask myself, is there love in this? If the answer is no, I wouldn't put it out there. And this is what I've been doing since 2013, I think. And of course, it has become much more artistic and it has become much more me. And I love it. And as you say, Twitter is a very negative place to be. But that is why I love being there, because I'm a light. I'm a light out there. So you can just come there and absorb the light that I'm putting there, because it is the truth. I mean, I'm not saying anything that isn't the truth. It is the truth. We are love and we are light, and this is what I'm posting there at the most negative place on social media. So I love that.
I love it. And I know that's why it caught my attention and why it's caught the attention of hundreds of thousands of other people, including Oprah, who put you on a list of her super soul teachers. Tell me how that came about, how you got notification of it and what that entails.
Well, I mean, it was actually Sherry Salata, who was the president of OWN at that time. She found me exactly the same way as you did. And I didn't know, but she was actually watching me on Twitter for a while. And then she just sent me a DM, which stated, "Hi, Gordana, do you want to dream a little?" And I said, yes. And that's how it was. And then, I mean, 6 months later, I was in LA and I was on this beautiful list of wonderful people. And I mean, if I would say that my tweets were whispers before that, now it feels like I have a megaphone. I mean, it's made an enormous difference to me. It's like getting the Nobel Prize in self-help. That's how I feel. So But it was beautiful and I loved it. I really did enjoy it.
Well, I mean, I love the pictures too that came out of
Mm,
that. But so your background, it's like this beautiful combination of the psychology and the art and
mhm,
the writing. I mean,
mm.
when did it first come to you to put your thoughts down in words that that was going to be your medium?
I think actually I described it then, sitting in the garden with my husband. I've always been writing, but since I am from Sweden, then Swedish is my first language, and I have been writing in Swedish, and I've been writing about art, and that is all fun and cool. But this is something different. To write in English, I don't actually know what happened, but the first time I started putting my words down in English, it felt like that was my first language.
Hmm.
I don't know why. It felt like I don't know, had a past life or something that came through me, and it opened my mind. It was like another universe in my head when I started writing in English. Maybe it is because the Swedish language is not that, it's not easy to express things about consciousness in the Swedish language because it lacks certain words for it. And English does not lack that. You can elaborate it in all ways. And I felt that that kind of opened me up for it. And then, of course, I was afraid of being vulnerable and putting out my private thoughts. It's one thing to write academic text and it's one thing to write about art, but this is something different. This comes from me and they are purely my own thoughts. So I felt really vulnerable, and I think that Twitter became that medium where I, in small doses, could allow myself to be vulnerable out there. And then when my husband put 8 of my tweets together and came with them to me and said, look at this, you have actually been writing much more than you think, because to me it's one tweet at a time and I put it out there. And he came and showed me this, and I realized that I had actually written a book, only I had done it through Twitter. So I had to assemble all the text that I had put out there, and it became a book from this.
Right. And I cannot wait to read it. I have the name of it here. I love the name of it. Hashtag Know the Truth, Why Knowing Who You Are Changes Everything. Tell me about the title. Okay. And I just have to say, as a woman, you and I are about the same age. In fact, we were born on the same day, which I thought was
Yes,
very
I know.
interesting. When I saw
It is
that,
so cool.
I just noticed that this morning. I thought, wow, but we're about the same age. And I'm finding just in my peer group of other women my age, midlife is such a time of renaissance where you really do
Mm,
feel like you have permission to, and you really do feel like you know yourself in a way that I don't feel the same way. I did not feel the same way in my 20s. What is it
yeah.
about this time of life that helps us as women know ourselves?
I think that somehow we align to our true self. Maybe it is, I mean, I felt that I started aligning to my true self when I got my son, when he was born. The first time I looked into his eyes, I felt the authenticity of his soul, and I could literally mirror myself in that soul. So I felt that, okay, I cannot not be authentic. Because if I am not authentic, then he cannot be authentic. So that kind of pushed me into the authenticity in my life. And then becoming older, you care less what others say about you. That's
Amen.
the beauty. Yes, that's the beauty of becoming older. I truly love that feeling, to not let it affect me. It's not that I don't care, but I don't let it affect me. I become more balanced. There is something with time that makes us more balanced. I think we balance the masculine and feminine principles within us. We allow ourselves um, to stay balanced, and that is why we enjoy being older. I truly, I would never go back to being 20 again. When I look back at my past, if I would say, where do I recognize myself? I recognize myself in the 12-year-old Gordana, but I do
Mhm.
not recognize myself in the 20-year-old Gordana, because the 20-year-old Gordana was trying to fit in.
Right.
And the 12-year-old did not try to fit in, did not try to comply, because as a Scorpio, you know what that means. We do not like to
No, we
comply.
don't.
And I think that sometimes lives take us on detours, and 20, 30, that's a detour.
Right.
So I feel that I enjoy more being who I am today than I did when I was 20.
One of the concepts that I think one of the first ones that caught my eye, and it has been again lately as I read your tweets each day, is the perception or the concept of gratitude. And I found in my own life when I've been going through the most difficult times, if I can stop and and express gratitude, instantly things seem to get better. Why is that?
Yes. Because you connect to your soul source. I mean, I write it in my book. Um, we are love. We are unconditional love because that is what our source is. And every time we deviate from unconditional love or love, we feel some kind of pain in our reality. Either it is emotional pain or physical pain, or we feel fear. It's a negative feeling. So if you want to disconnect from that, you need to go back to your soul source. And the fastest way is to feel gratitude because you feel the love going through you. You allow the source to go through you. So gratitude is one way of aligning yourself with your higher self and your truth. That is why it feels good. I mean, our feelings are actually a compass. Every time you feel that something isn't as it should be, you should be trying to find a way to soothe yourself back into alignment with who you are and then solve the problem. Because it's very hard to solve something when you are agitated or fearful. You do not see all the options because your frequency is too low. So you have to go up in a higher frequency, and you do. The fastest way is appreciation. The fastest way is, or seeking beauty, because there is something in nature that resonates to that frequency, which is beauty. 1111 is one of those things, actually. It's about the Fibonacci spiral and how that goes. It's a sequence that starts with 1, 1, then go 2, 3, 5, 8. And the 1, 1 and 1, 1 is actually as above, so below. It is a spiral that how nature works, it does so in heaven too. So if you're
Right.
connected to who you are, you will experience it in this reality too.
Wow.
I hope
Okay.
I'm
So
not making it complicated
no,
here.
no, that's okay. And the
Yeah.
1111 we're referring to, in case anyone missed it, is our birthdays, 1111.
Yay.
Yes. And happy belated to you as we record
Yeah,
this in
the
November.
same. The
So
same to you.
talk to me a little bit about fear, because
Mm.
a lot of there's a lot of especially around the holidays, which we are right now, there's a lot of pain, there's a lot of longing, there's a lot of absorption of other people's pain, and there's a lot of fear. And I had a good friend of mine who happens to be a therapist who said, humans make a beeline for safety at all costs because of fear. How do you try to alleviate some of that with your writings?
Well, I know that fear is I if I call fear an illusion, people get mad at me. But if I say that love is the only thing that is real and everything else is contained in love, because all that is unconditional acceptance of all that is. So that's the essence of who we are. And everything that is in this reality is contained or is actually the essence of all that is. So fear is secondary and love is primary. Fear is something that have created in this reality. A child who is newly born does not know what fear is, because that is something we learn in this reality. So it is something we can unlearn too. So for me, it is always about finding a way to soothe yourself away from fear and ask yourself, is this really the truth? I mean, when you look at the news and they're creating this sense of fear and danger and survival out there, you might think that the universe is a bad place to be in, but it is not actually, because we're all alive and everything is flourishing. When you look at nature, nothing is there is no war going on in nature. We are the ones creating it, which means that we can uncreate it too. So there is a solution to it, but it's very easy to go into that frequency. And when you are in that frequency, it is hard to see the options outside of it because it is a very low frequency. And if you want to see the options, you need to be on a higher frequency to see all the options. So I'm pointing here so that you can see fear is a very narrow band of frequency, whereas love is a bigger band of frequency. And everything that is contained in it, you cannot see it when you are in fear. So that is why I'm saying that fear is an illusion, because you can snap out of fear and find your way back, as you do, for instance, with gratitude or asking a question. Is this really true? Is this really how it is? To question your beliefs about fear. That's the way to do it. And it's harder when there are a lot of people doing the same thing, because then you are a co-creator of that fear and it becomes almost real, because beliefs are like bricks in this reality. We create this reality with our beliefs, our emotions and our thoughts and our beliefs. That is what is the frequency we're allowing through us into this reality. So if we are all co-creating that fear and everybody believes in that fear, it becomes real in quotation marks. But it doesn't have to be, because if we pour love into that, the fear suddenly disappears because it isn't real. It's very elusive, actually. When you start looking at it, it disappears. It doesn't like to be looked at. It wants to hide. And everything you're afraid of, we should actually talk about it. And we would find that there is actually nothing to fear if we would talk about it.
Right. Who reaches out to you? I mean, I know I did as a journalist, and other journalists do, and I've watched some of the other shows that you've been on as well. But are there people that reach out to you wanting a specific message?
I think that most people that connect to me are true seekers who really, truly want to know who they are. So they connect to me because they feel that I put words into their emotions, and they feel that my messages are crystal clear. They feel the love in the messages. I'm not talking about, sleazy love. I'm talking about some kind of reassurance of who they are. What I'm doing with my messages is that I am reminding them of who they are, because they know, we all know who we are within. But we need to be reminded of it. We need to have a reflection from the outside, a validation that this is who I am. So I couldn't say that it's a specific kind of person, because I have people all over the world, all countries, everywhere, all ages, men and women, actually 50% women and 50% men, which is very unusual when it comes to these kind of messages. So I think it's a universal truth that echoes in my messages, and that's why all kinds of people connect to me. So it's very hard for me to say an age or how they look. I think the red thread is that they are seekers and they truly want to know who they are. They
Right.
need a validation of what they already know about themselves.
Right.
I truly love what I do. So doing it replenishes me, gives me energy. When I do it, it gives me energy. It gives me immense pleasure to do this. But at the same time, of course, I can't do it all the time. I have to do something else in order to find inspiration and new things. So I live in a really loving relationship. I have a husband whom I've been married to for 33 years, and we truly love each other. So he is one of my go-to sources when I feel that I need energy. I also have a enormously beautiful son who is 21, and actually sometimes it's enough that I go into his room and I sit down and just sit there and I feel his energy. So I fill myself with that energy. But I also love to go out in nature, for instance, and just look at things and enjoy. I could get energy by sitting by a tree. That's enough for me, and I will have these thoughts. It's almost like I cannot turn them off. I cannot find any off button to turn it off. So it's always flowing through me. And it's just about how much I want to allow and how much I don't want to allow. So um, I think that I am living my dreams. I'm actually living my daydreams because when I was a child, I did not have I didn't have an easy childhood. It was really rough. So I spent a lot of time daydreaming of how my life would look like when I was older. And literally, it looks like that right now. So I think I did the work when I was a child, and now I'm enjoying it. I'm literally living these daydreams I had as a child. So it's hard for me to say that, okay, so when I've done my work, I go yoga or something. It's not. It's very, everything is entangled in my life. My work and my life are one and the same thing. So it is flowing all the time. And I get energy from doing what I do, actually.
Do you put out your tweets at the same time every day?
No, I don't. I don't.
Okay.
I sometimes I try to put out a mantra every day at the same time, but I am a person, I don't like the linear time. I
Okay.
really don't like.
I
So
only ask that because
I
when I get your tweets, I work a
yeah,
very early morning shift. I'm at work at like 3:30 in the morning. So
I thought so. I
yes.
thought so. I could see it. Yeah.
I do a morning news program. I'm a journalist and I anchor a morning news program on the radio.
Hmm.
So I sit down at my desk and it's like within a couple of minutes one of your tweets always pops up and I was wondering if you put them out at the same time.
Not always. I do. I try to put out one in 1 hour, for
Mhm.
instance, but sometimes it goes 2 hours, 3 hours. Sometimes I put several in 1 hour. It's all about how I feel and where I am and what I'm doing at the time. Because, I mean, I can stand here and make dinner, and then there's a tweet in my head, and I go and I write the tweet and I put it out there because I've sensed that when my true energy is in the tweet, people react to it more. And I
Right.
cannot explain this scientifically, but I can see it. I can see that there's more likes to it. And it's mind-boggling how it can be so. If a tweet really comes from my heart, I really feel it when I put it there. People will react to it, and it's mind-boggling how that comes. But I love it when I can see that people have reacted the way I wanted them to react on a tweet. So,
How
and yeah, go ahead.
how do you, and you have a son who's 21. I have a daughter who's 21.
Hmm.
And I know it. I know it. There are a lot of similar. We should be besties. Okay.
Yes,
So
we should.
how do you, I mean, do you use some of what you are using to help other people to help your own child? I mean, guiding another
Hmm.
soul, because even after they leave the house, and my daughter now lives in Australia, my oldest lives in
Hmm.
Australia, but she still, we talk daily, and I still
Hmm.
feel that she needs my guidance. Do you use
Hmm.
some of what you use in the world to help your son?
I do, and but I also feel that my son came into my life as a teacher.
Mm.
I feel that he is a very, very wise soul. And sometimes I feel that he's teaching me because I think that I need to guide him. And then I realize that he doesn't need any guidance. He
Mm.
knows what he needs to know himself. So that's something that I need to kind of absorbed. As a mother, you always want to help your child, but sometimes they do not need that guidance. And I feel that he has come to a place where he does not need my guidance in that way. He needs my support. He needs me to be there for him. He needs me to be there unconditionally for him, but to allow him to make his own mistakes, to make his own choices, even if I see that, okay, that choice might not be what I would have chosen. I have to learn how to not always speak what I think and allow him to make his own choices. And that is new to me because I have been guiding and doing things the way you describe them for a long time. But now, when I look at him, I see a little boy, but he's 21, so he's a young man. And I have to wake myself up to that truth every single time I look at him, that he is a young man. And I was his portal into this world, but I do not own him.
Right.
I do not there is it has to be a disconnection so that there isn't a relationship built on mother son. It is more like a friend. So if he comes to me, if he asks me, then I will give him my opinion. But I wouldn't go in there and say, don't do that, do this. because he said it to me once, you are sending signals to me that you don't trust my wisdom. So I go, okay, now I have to back off because I do trust him. I really
Yes.
do trust his wisdom. It's just that maybe I wouldn't do it that way. But then when I look at it, he's always doing the right thing. So I have to learn how to trust his wisdom. That's what it
Wow.
is.
Oh,
I'm
that is
learning.
it's a beautiful message and it's true. And I think it's
Yeah.
universal with our children. We do have to eventually realize these are their lives and their decisions and their life to build.
That's awesome. When you said that your daughter is in Australia, he actually has a girlfriend in Australia. So we have so many points there that are
We do.
connecting. Yes.
Something you said earlier, I'd like to hit it upon because as I sit in my office and I read your tweets every day, I think about my favorite place on earth to be, which is up on the Oregon coast with my husband hiking in that just impossibly green forest that's usually damp and has this wonderful smell of the ocean and the woods. And it just, I mean, it centers me every single time when we hike for hours just quietly together. Where do you go to connect with nature? You made mention of that.
Well, I do. I'm more of a city person. So
Hmm.
nature to me could be go to sit down in my garden and look at a tree of apples, for instance. So I feel that that is enough for me to just be there or stand barefoot in the grass and just feel the grass between my toes. So I don't have to go anywhere. I actually do it because I have the privilege of having a garden here. But where I do go to get my dose of spiritual infusion, that would be Krakow, because my husband comes from Poland, Krakow, and it is a medieval city, and I really feel the energy there. I come back full of energy when I've been there. I cannot explain why it is so, because it is a city and it shouldn't be so. But to me, there is something specific in that city that gives me a lot of energy. So when I want to fill myself with energy, I want to go to Krakow all the time, every single time.
Wow, that sounds beautiful. Your tweets are so such full of such beauty, and it makes me think. And I know you must have heard about the horrible fires that California is having right now.
Yeah.
And but what has been so inspirational in that, covering it as a journalist, is watching all of the people who have rushed in to help, the people making meals, the people who have just abandoned their lives and jobs to go and take care of other people that they've never met before. And it brings to mind your sense of trying to connect to a higher frequency and a higher love.
You do that every time, and this is why I feel that humanity, as human beings, we are good. Essentially, we are unconditional love. But when we come into this society and the belief systems that are there, we go into survival mode, which creates something else within us. And then there is a crisis, like the fires, and we open up to our true selves. That is when it comes out of us. So, what we're seeing in a crisis, people helping each other, this is the real us. This is who we truly are. And then we forget that when we go into a habitual being of everyday life. So I think the good side of a crisis is that we always show up with our best side, with our true selves in that, because we cannot do anything else. We do it automatically. That is our true essence, and it's beautiful to see that. It makes me, I felt it when you were speaking. I felt like choking up, because I know that this is the true the true us. This is who we are.
Right. Right. Gordana, tell us how we can connect with you. For those who, of course, we can find you on Twitter, but how do we find you and some of your other writings and your book, and give us all that good stuff?
Yeah, well, you can go to mypowertalk.com, which is my page, and also at mypowertalk on Twitter. I'm on Instagram and also on Facebook. Everything is, if you just write Gordana Biernat, you will find every single thing where to find me. And if you really want to know what goes on in my head. You should read my book, which is #Know the Truth, Why Knowing Who You Are Changes Everything. It's everywhere online. You can buy it anywhere.
It's going to be my holiday gift to myself, and so that I can open it up each day and receive a message that will make my life better. Thank you so much, Gordana, for your time.
I just wanted to share one thing before I want to do a micro meditation with you, if you like. It takes just a few seconds. And all the listeners, because I just want to give you a small glimpse of who we truly are. So do this with me. Put your hand on your heart and breathe in and breathe out and repeat after me. I am the light in the darkness.
I am the light in the darkness.
I am the love in the hate.
I am the love in the hate.
I am the calmness in the storm.
I am the calmness in the storm.
I am the courage in the fear.
I am the courage in the fear.
And there you go.
Beautiful. Thank you so much again for your time. I so appreciate it. And I'm going to stay in touch. We'll be tweeting back. And if I ever get to Finland, I'm going to look you up.
Yeah, you come to Sweden, because that's where I am. Yes.
Yeah, if I get to Finland and call you, you're not going to answer. I will get to Sweden and come see you.
When you get, yes, I will love to meet you.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much, Gordana Biernat.
Thank you.
We appreciate your time. Take care.